Hello, welcome back to Raising Arrows Mama. My name is Heather and I am the Raising Arrows Mama because I got a lot of arrows to raise. I have 8 kids from infant up to 15 and here I share homeschooling, home life, large family life, a little bit of everything. Been doing homeschool a lot lately. Took a little break. If you've noticed, I didn't disappear forever, just life got overwhelming. So we'll do a quick life update and we'll do a quick run through of how our first term went. So life update is it's crazy, it's hectic. We have doubled down on those music lessons and they are all out of town. Yeah, I'm not sure what I was thinking there, but crazy comes to mind. So Mondays and Thursdays we are over an hour out of town for over an hour of lessons, but you know, it's just everywhere. So we're a little chaotic trying to figure out our schedules and still working on all that, which will be part of my school update. But life-wise, it's just been like knuckling down and not having my act together. And I realize that part of it's postpartum, part of it's a lot of other things going on in life. And so this is our break week and I'm hoping to get it all kind of figured out, start doing some meal prep, doing some planning. I'll try to maybe make a video about how I do my prep week because I've got to get my act together because winter is coming and I do not do well in the winter. I'm regulated by the sunlight and without it, I struggle. So I gotta get some things in gear. Luckily, I have some really great habits formed with my kids about school so that they kind of can keep going even when mom is struggling. And that's part of what happened in our last term. Actually, it went better than I thought. We dropped the ball on a few things and I'm just gonna go through and share my lists. I don't know if I've shared a video on how we're doing history this term, and maybe I'll do a video closer, maybe over winter break or something. But basically, I have divided our year up into 6 modules because we do 12-week terms. And so we do 3 12-week terms for the whole year. And the 12th week of each one of those terms is a catch-up / exam week. And then we have a break week in between each 6-week section, which I'm calling modules this year because it makes me feel better. But we're trying to cover 20th and 21st. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. 20th and 21st century. 21st century might have to wait till summer. I'm not sure. I'm hoping to get it all in. And in order to do that, I had to approach history a little bit different because I'm cramming a heck of a lot into a little bit of time. The good thing is, by the way we do our history scheduling, and I have a whole bunch of videos about that, you can go check it out if you're interested. But because of what we do, my 2nd grader is doing 20th century this year, but then she'll do it again in 6th grade, and then she'll do it again in 10th grade. So I don't have to cover everything all the time for everything that happened, because that'd be impossible. Schools aren't even doing that, okay? So like, give yourself a breather, realize if you're giving yourself a century, you don't have to cover every nugget, they're gonna get through it. A little bit panicked because my 10th grader isn't going to get it again, and because we jumped ship on a couple of curriculums over the years, she hasn't had much of 20th century history. And so I've been trying to kind of force that in other ways leading up to this year to better prepare her, because I didn't want her to graduate and not have covered anything. But this is all a digression. So back to how do I have it organized? Each module is 2 decades, except for this coming up module, which is from now until about our Christmas break, or well, next week until our Christmas break. And that's gonna be 1940s and World War II. Part of that is because there's just so much about it. My kids are super interested in it. So 1940s is getting its own time slot. That's just the way it is. But we did, our first module was 1900 to 1919, and that went phenomenal. We really focused on World War I. We got almost all the things done that we wanted to. Then we did, this last section was 1920s through 1939, not covering anything that goes into World War II. So really 1938, right? But anyways, and the way that I have this part outlined is for each of my children. I have a nonfiction book and a historical fiction book that I want them to finish in that 6-week time period. That is a huge ramp up from what we normally do. First time out of the gate, I would never ever have done this, okay? My kids know the protocol, they know what's going on, and my kids are currently all all of the school age kids, so 5, are like gung-ho for historical fiction right now. And so I chose books that would be interesting to them specifically so that they would be able to finish it in that 6-week time period. Also keep in mind, go back to my literature, modern versus classic. We have backed up on our literature so that they're still reading a lot of literature, but they are not reading it quite as heavily as the historical fiction for this time period right now. But I'll go through all that again. And so I wanted to share just how this is working out, because the modules are working out because of that. Very well. There have been the first module was a little rough getting into the gear. Next module is going to be great because it's World War II, and that's like my 13-year-old read like 5 World War II books, just both historical fiction and nonfiction, just last month. But so I'm not worried about them finishing that particular module. And so yes, all that to say, it brings us to my handy dandy grid, which I share about how I make this in my what do you call it, creating your own curriculum videos. I share, this is basically like a rip off of Ambleside Online. I have the subjects, and then I have the book, and then I have what person's reading what. Okay, and I actually changed how I did this for this next term. My outline, which I'll share in another video, maybe my prep week video I'll share it, I don't know. But basically I have all the subjects here, and then I have their names and what they're going to study, and that helps me have kind of an overview of what everybody's doing for the whole school year, whole term. And so it's very simple. I'm gonna try to fold it down so that you don't see names, but so you can see, like here it says like instrument, and this person's gonna do handbells, and this person's doing ukulele, this person's doing recorder, this person is to be determined, she's doing recorder right now, flute and violin. And I just, that's a quick example for their instruments. They also do piano. But it goes down through all the books. You can see down here at the bottom for literature, I have their literature, and I put both because I put it's as they finish it. There's no specific schedule. And so this person is reading Understood Betsy, and then she's going to go on to The Princess and Goblin. She's still in the middle of Understood Betsy. This person is doing Treasure Island and then Treasure Seekers. She's in the middle of Treasure Island still. Black Beauty, definitely still in the middle of that one. Swiss Family Robinson in the middle of that one. And then this one is my high schooler. She is doing Penrod by Tarkington Booth. And is that right? I think that's his name. And then she's going to start Jane Eyre. She finished Penrod and is going to start Jane Eyre. She had a lot of great commentary on it. She has usually my book reader, bookworm, and did not, she's taken a break from reading fiction. And so in her free time. And so I made sure to give her books that were going to just, she would enjoy. Now Jane Eyre is going to be a stretch for her, but I have to also challenge her. I'm her mom. So let's go through basically what we did. Bible, we actually usually do very good. We do a koinonia. I share a video about that. We do our Bible time over breakfast. That didn't work out this term. We tried moving Bible to a different time, and too often we skipped it. Now my kids are having the independent Bible time every morning, and we do Bible time together as a family before bed. But our family Bible studies that we were doing in the morning with hymns and scripture memory, it was iffy. It was not great. And then I have like all these things my kids do independent. Besides the readings, they practice piano, they practice their instruments, they all have a logic book of some sort. That all is going really well. Grids for Kids is an amazing, great resource for little logic puzzles. You can get online, print it, super cheap, easy. I share about all these different things in my videos per each kid, and that has all gone really well. Logic has gone well, math has gone phenomenal. We have we made a schedule and put little post-its in the math books and to kind of stay on schedule, and that has helped me immensely because I very often will be like, well, we're gonna skip math today, or we're gonna do baking today, and let's just be honest, it's a me problem, not them. And so by putting those post-its in there, it helped me be like, oh yeah. So we actually got ahead in a couple of kids in their math books. A couple other kids, we were able to really stay the course and stay on time. And so that was very helpful. Copy work, they are able to do that every day, no problem. As far as grammar, we do word roots, a diagramming book, an editor in chief, and I share about all of those, and they did really, really well with that. We didn't do great with dictation. I just dropped the ball. Usually I find those before the term begins and I print it out and have it for the and I didn't do that this time, and we suffered because of that. Recitation, again, I printed it out ahead of time. It went well. And so it really is on that front end loading of doing the work over the summer and preparing yourself. It leads to a more successful school year. And where I dropped the ball, it wasn't as successful. That going on for literature, we have our classic and our modern literature, and that is going phenomenally. My second grader finished the 100 Dresses. She didn't love it. I didn't love it in school, but towards the end, she was able to discuss it, and she understood and was able to talk about it. She's starting James and the Giant Peach now for her modern lit and really enjoying that. And then she's in the middle of Understood Betsy, which she's not loving. They also did some phenomenal free reads. Like, I have tons. I've tried to kind of keep up with what my kids are reading to an extent. They get a lot of books from the library that I would, Miss Mason is considering twaddle, okay? And I'm okay with that because they also read deeply and richly in school and in their free time. So I'm okay with the occasional twaddle book. And so we had a lot of that going on. Poetry, they all pick out a poetry book. They're doing super well with that. Our biographies, which are hands down like the crux of what we do each school year, are phenomenal, and my kids did great with them. We always do a Christian history and science bio, and this time was Stams, who were martyrs in the Boxer Rebellion in China. For history, they read about Teddy Roosevelt, and for science, they kind of had a selection. So like my 5th, 7th, and 8th grader, no, 5th, 6th, and 8th grader, they had, like books that have like a chapter about different women in science. And I always do that because my oldest at that time wanted to know, like, what about women? What do girls do? I'm always reading boy books. And so I made it a challenge to find more about women and not just the most popular women. And so we used Girls Who Looked Under Rocks for 5th grade, and we used Women in Science, which has like a page snippet about them, and that was really good. Did a biography, and she's almost finished with it. The Code Breaker about Jennifer Doudna, which has a lot of things to talk about genetics and about genetic manipulation, about CRISPR, about COVID, all kinds of things. It's got a lot of great conversation starters with her, and I've appreciated that. My 2nd grader read about John Audubon, which was very exciting. She's really enjoying that. I think she has 1 chapter left. She kind of fell under the radar on some of her readings because she was outside playing so much, which I'm okay with because she's, 7. And she was very excited because I showed her, as she got towards the end and he's getting ready to go to America, I showed her the Audubon guides that we have. So she was pretty excited about that. And so biographies are going phenomenally. I'm excited to do that. Now the biographies I do for the whole term because they are the crux of it, and I want them to make sure they get through it. And so you can see they really focused on the early 1900s. I didn't have any biographies about people really from the 20s, 30s that were that time period, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, my kids read biographies and historical fiction a lot, so they catch it in other places. But then going into history, what did we do for a spine for all of us except for my high schooler? We use Story of the World, which I don't love Story of the World. I have issues with the author. I don't know that I'm going to address it here. I don't agree with everything she writes. So I do recommend pre-reading at least. But what I did is I went through and tabbed every reading because we were skipping some chapters. There's some things that I don't know. I don't love it. She had a very short chapter on World War I, and we had to supplement with other things for World War I, and I don't know that we did a great job because as a spine, this didn't go into it very much, less than a chapter. I mean, there was more about the Russian-Japanese invasion than there was about World War I. It was just weird. But anyways, as I read each section, I move the tab to the side so that way I can see not only what I've done, but that I know I'm done with it. There is a lot in here, and I don't know that every story needs told. I do like it. My kids really do retain it. It's quick. They're short chapters. And they do read like a story for the most part. So my kids have enjoyed that. But then with that, like I said, my kids have a nonfiction book and then a historical fiction book that they read with it. And where did I put that paper? So for, I don't have it with me, but I'll try to pop a picture up here. So for module 1, my middlers, my 6th and 8th grader read The Yanks Are Coming by Albert Marin. So they got more of that World War I through that. And so you can see that's how I kind of tried to justify the spine versus what our focuses are. And then the other kids all had biographies for the most part, except for my oldest. She did The Very, Very, Very Dreadful by Albert Marin, which talked about the 1918 flu pandemic, Spanish flu pandemic. And I, again, loved her understanding of all that. And that went really well. And then they all had historical fiction that they really loved. My 5th grader read The Singing Tree by Kate Sarity, and she enjoyed it but was very confused by it. It was a lot longer book than I expected. That's one I actually didn't pre-read, and I should have. My next 2 kids read Jennifer Nielsen books, which are wonderful, phenomenal historical fiction author. Lines of Courage about World War I and the resistance, and talks about the medical trains in that one. And then Iceberg, which was about the Titanic for my other schooler because she'd already read Lines of Courage. And my high schooler read Switchboard Soldiers by Jennifer Chiaverini. She didn't finish it. I think she would have liked to. We don't own it. We got it from the library and had to take it back, and I've talked about that on my booktube channel a lot, and I think I talked about it here, and it was very good. It is a phenomenal historical fiction, Switchboard Soldiers, because it also gives you a lot of the battle background. So then going into the next module that we just finished, we really focused on the Great Depression. I know there are a lot of other things going on in the world, but my kids don't know much about it. They don't know much about the Dust Bowl and the Depression, and so that's what we and talked about, and also the civil rights issues that were going on and the rise of the KKK. And so my kids, my 2nd grader and my 5th grader actually had some picture books we got from the library that talked about the Dust Bowl and talked about Depression time and what life was like in general. And then my middlers read portions of Years of Dust by Albert Marin. They actually read most of the book. They skipped just a few things that I felt were covered in other things, but I love it. It has some phenomenal pictures in here. And not just artwork, like this beautiful artwork, but it has some great photography in here of life during the Dust Bowl and what it was like, and it really opened my kids' eyes to it because it was something that they hadn't really heard about before. And so we are really enjoying Albert Marin, and he is like a big proponent of what we're reading this year. He's recommended in a lot of different places, but he does a great job with 20th century history. And so that was their nonfiction. And then my oldest continued reading Very, Very Dreadful because it was a lot longer. She's been a little bogged down. Historical fiction wise, my 5th grader read Stella by Starlight, which is a thicker book, so she had to read a lot more chapters in order to finish it, and she kind of balked at that at the beginning of the 6 weeks, but it went phenomenally. She loved it. It's a beautiful story. Stella by Starlight. I highly recommend. I'll probably have to do a separate video just to talk about each of these books. A Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry was what my next oldest read, and then as a family we were reading Esperanza Rising, and my oldest read The Lost Year by Catherine Marsh, all set in the 30s, and tackle a lot of different things. Esperanza Rising is migrant. Stella by Starlight and Roll of Thunder talk about Black culture in the South and the rise of the KKK. Lost Year talks about the Depression in America and Stalin's power in Ukraine. And so those went really, really well. And so that made up our history along with our biographies. And that went phenomenal. My kids did geology with Sabbath Mood. That was kind of hit or miss, partially because we had a scheduling issue. The middle school geology has a lot more lessons than I realized they were supposed to be doing each week, because usually it's like nature reading and then a lesson and then a lab is kind of how a lot of them are spaced out, and that one is like 3 lessons that you have to do every week, and I didn't realize that, so we got a little behind on that one. And then my elementary student, so upper Form 2, didn't love the geology lessons. She didn't love the book. She didn't love this, talking about it. I did a lot of videos to supplement with her just to get her a little interested. She loves the lab work. She likes rocks. She just didn't like the spine text, and that was a real hindrance for her. So we're going to go into chemistry next term, see how she likes that. We did drop the ball on nature study. We did great the first like month when we were talking about wildflowers and things. And then we were supposed to do like fruits and mammals, I think. And I just didn't do it. And that's my fault. My kids did great with their nature lore. They always do. That's part of their every week readings. If I can give my kids, these are your weekly tasks and here are your readings, they go. So a lot of that is anything that was on my end was what was dropped. Geography was on my end. And again, we did really good until like the last couple of weeks. We're using Mater and Mabelis's level 3 geography, which is geography of Europe. And it is phenomenally, like the map work is amazing. And this is not the way I've ever done geography, but my kids they complain about it while we're doing it, but they are loving it. We got these great big atlases and we're drawing these maps, and they do the Cetera for the once a week. They get on the tablet and they do the little game to find each country in Europe. That's always been fun. They love Cetera. That's a no-brainer. But our geography with Mater and Mabelis is having us find islands and oceans and seas and rivers and peninsulas, and it's going to get into more of those kind of geographical landforms. And we've not really focused on that, and I'm loving it. Like I said, they complain in the moment, but then they feel really knowledgeable that they have it, because I see them use it when they talk about other things going on, or when they're looking at maps, or when they're talking to someone else, like, well, that's this. And on their exams, they were able to label a lot more than I thought they'd be able to. Because I kind of, since this was a different way of doing geography this time for exams, I left it very open-ended. Like, I need you to find these 4 things, but then anything extra that you can find, I would like to see who can find the most. And they did phenomenal on that. Plutarch, we did really well with for the first time in a very long time. Because we're using Anne White's guide, has some great discussion questions, but for me, it's the breakdown of the chapters. We've done pretty good on, I would say, on Plutarch readings in the past using the Plutarch for Boys and Girls. But it took me getting into a groove of it and slating a specific time to do it. Otherwise, it's just out the window. And so we've made it a Monday thing, and we sit down, we do it. And the lessons are quick and easy. We're going to start Philopoemen next? I don't know. But I love it because it's got all year. It has my guide. I picked this one. I don't know if this is what Amplified's doing right now, but I decided to start with number 1, and we're going to go from there. Also, I did want to do Marcus Cato. Plutarch is going well. We are doing ancient Chinese for the whole semester, until Christmas. We're just reading a couple chapters out of here. They're so fun. We love Graceland. We also have been reading her, listening to her audiobooks of Where the Mountain Meets the Moon series, and it's a great introduction to it. We're not hitting ancient China hard because we did a couple years ago, and so this is kind of just our ancients. The last year and this year are kind of just a revisit, and then the next time around will be a little more intense, just as we get into the swing of me creating our own curriculums and trying to find that right balance. And then like all the rest is all of our extras, and those were kind of hit or miss. Our readings go great because I use audiobooks in the car. Folk songs we did sometimes. Current events, my kids are all for. We use World from A to Z by Carl Zeus and love it. It's free on YouTube. Go check it out. Artist, we did some. I don't remember who we did. She's okay, I promise. The kids do typing and extra math on their own. Their narrations have gone well. We finished Julius Caesar, which was great. It was the first historical play that we read by Shakespeare. My kids did a wonderful job. That went phenomenal. Our composer, we were comparing Ravel and Debussy, and we did okay with that. We did a lot of Ravel. My kids did not care for Ravel, but then we did a little bit of Debussy, however you want to say his name. And so the things that we didn't do great were hand sewing and handicraft kind of things. We didn't do that great. Folk songs, we did really good at the beginning, and then they kind of dropped off, so that we really only know over there. yeah, I think that was an artist. We kind of dropped the ball the last week or so. We didn't do the last couple paintings. Mostly because we were doing Malay, that's what it was. And we were reviewing him, and the kids remembered all the paintings. So I think we need to move him further back in the repeat. They weren't impressed. They don't love Malay like I love Malay. So there's that. And so we're going to be doing something different with our artists for the next term. And so hopefully these are all ones that they haven't seen very familiar. All that's going on in our school, and like I said, I forgot to mention our schedule. We tried here it didn't go super well. I'm gonna go back to an older version of our schedule. I was trying, yeah, it just didn't work. But that's okay. We stuck it out for 12 weeks, and we realized it didn't work for us. And so we're gonna go back to the drawing boards, or go back to an older schedule and just tweak it slightly, because the one that I tried didn't work, and that's okay. That's homeschooling. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about how our term went, about a specific resource, want to know more, drop it below. I will try to get to it, or make a video, or respond in some way. If you made it to the end of this video and you have nothing to say, then thank you so much for watching. Just drop an emoji below to show how your day is going today. And I thank you for watching this lengthy video of me regurgitating what happened this term. And I will be back sharing some more of resources and how we use them in our homeschool and in our home in the next couple weeks. Thank you.